For more on what Kim Jong Un's strategy and his goal could be, let's join by Daniel Hoffman. He's a former CIA station chief who served in Moscow, Iraq, and Pakistan, and is a Fox News contributor. So, Daniel, why is Kim saying that we have to change when basically he's done so little? He's not identifying his nuclear facilities. He has no international inspectors going in there. He's not stopping his program, and he's not ending his human rights abuses that are just horrendous.
Right. He's done none of those things. And in fact, he's really short on specifics as far as what would need to get done in order for a deal to actually happen by the end of the year. It's clearly public posturing on his behalf. He's speaking to the United States, and he's also speaking to the region, to South Korea and to Russia and China. I think he's trying to leverage those relationships to exact as much economic gain as he can while giving up as little as possible in the way of denuclearization.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. Let me read you a quote. I mean, he has not had missile tests. Obviously, they've been in abeyance. It's a good thing. The president is taking credit for that. He has not dismantled part of one facility that apparently was inoperable anyway. Here's what he said. Ready for this one? Quote, "If the United States approaches us with the right manner and offers to hold a third North Korea-U.S. leaders summit on the condition of finding solutions we could mutually accept, then we do have a willingness to give it one more try. We will wait with patience until the end of the year for the United States to come up with a courageous decision. But it will be clearly difficult for a good opportunity like last time to come up." I mean, who is he? Who is he telling us that we have to change when he's the one who's violating international law?
Right, and I am absolutely sure that Secretary Pompeo and his team, with support from our intelligence community, is analyzing every word from Kim Jong Un. Remember, he made that speech to his rubber stamp legislature, but again, it was meant for consumption in the region and beyond. While it might strain the logic that the Kim family would amass a massive nuclear and ballistic missile capability only to barter them away for energy and food and integration in the world community economically, we still have to pursue negotiations, and we've tried, but Kim Jong Un has actually rebuffed all efforts from our special representative Stephen Biegun to start those negotiations in earnest.
So what does that mean?
But you can't fault the administration for trying, and they should.
Yeah, if they're not even willing to sit down. I mean, Biegun was back there trying to have these negotiations, and those talks haven't even started?
Right, and I think that as we press ahead with efforts to negotiate, that does enhance our efforts to continue the sanctions regime. When we say we're trying to negotiate with Kim Jong Un, but he's not a willing negotiator, then we should be able to continue to get the strong UN sanctions that we have, the strongest thus far in the history, even though Kim Jong Un is trying to break those sanctions by exporting labor and weapons to places like Libya and Syria and Yemen, as well as coal. But I think we're still pressing ahead on both of those fronts. It's the right policy. I think the administration's probably also looking at the eventuality. If that doesn't succeed, then we may enter a phase of arms control where we continue to press for North Korea not to mount tests of their ballistic missiles and their nuclear weapons, and maybe hold off on building out their arsenal. What the continued discussion does do is probably limit the likelihood of a return to fire and fury. As
Sure.
Winston Churchill used to say, better to be jaw-to-jaw talking than at war.
That's true. The missiles have been held in abeyance for now, but he did send a disturbing message. He appointed Cho Rae-hae as the nominal number 2, the head of the Supreme People's Assembly. Now, Che, I mean, he is on the U.S. sanctions for human rights. This guy apparently is one of the leaders of the brutal regime that has killed people, terrorizes people, punishes them, and tortures its own citizens. I mean, what does that mean if they put him on the number 2 spot? Isn't that a slap in our face?
Well, I think it's actually perhaps that, but it also reflects Kim Jong Un's own internal dynamics. He projects an image of strength and power, but really his regime is brittle, like most autocracies, and he is very concerned about the potential for a fifth column to usurp power from him. Just remember that it was a few years back when he killed his half-brother in a Malaysian airport with a nerve agent. And that was designed to send a message to his own potential opponents not to try anything, or else they would see the same fate. I think that Kim Jong Un is balancing different elements of power in his own evil, corrupt regime.
And one more, evil and corrupt, Otto Warmbier. The young American University of Virginia student, 22-year-old, so horribly tortured and brutally murdered. He did not steal a poster that was false propaganda. Wouldn't it be easy for him to announce an arrest or prosecute Otto Warmbier's killers? I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with the nuclear program, but wouldn't that be a show of good faith? Is it possible that he could have any good faith at all to try and pursue a case against those who so savagely took Otto Warmbier's young life?
I think Kim Jong Un is extraordinarily wary of revealing any weakness on his part in terms of human rights. He denies his own citizens and foreigners every human right there is, and I just don't see that happening. As far as intermediate steps, maybe we open a liaison office in Pyongyang and Washington, D.C. Maybe we get inspectors back into North Korea. There are certainly a host of things we could do. I just don't think I see him making any of those sorts of moves on the human rights front. It's just too much a part of his regime. He's got a massive state gulag of political repression of his own people on which his regime security depends.
Well, there are many who are still calling for and demanding justice for Otto.
As we should.
As we should, and will not give up. Dan Hoffman, thank you for your analysis.
Thank you.